Welcome back to the final episode of Roll to Hit Gaming's 50 Favorite Games 2018 edition. These are the 10 best games ever made.
Wait. No.
What? No?
It's not the best games in the world. We're just saying these are our favorites. We'd rather play these than any others.
So let's get started.
Kicking off the list at number 10, I've got a crossover with Chip already, and I think Joe to come, and that's Terraforming Mars from Stronghold Games. This one came out a couple years ago. I've said this before. This is the game that made me pay attention to what Stronghold Games was putting out. This is an absolute monster hit for them, which is a good deal because Steve's a great guy. But more importantly than that, this is a really deep engine-building Euro game, and this is one of those games where you talk about brain burning, and I think that's what I like about it. I think that's what everybody likes about it. Every time you go into it, you can explore a new strategy to try to find a different way to be successful, because every time the cards that are going to come at you are going to be different. And you can kind of say, I want to do this, and take a risk that it's going to come back, because you go through that deck a number of times. So you may see something 2 or 3 times before the game's over. All these things work together incredibly well, like I said, in a really thinky way, and that's why I've got Terraforming Mars at number 10.
It is an amazing game, and I just can't wait to get it onto the table as much as possible. So for my number 10, I chose Great Western Trail. It's a great cattle drive, and you're going from place to place, and some of them you can even take ownership of. There's hazards like Indian territories, and the whole point of it is to get your cattle to the train station in order to ship them along. But your cattle are a deck of cards, and you're trying to get a greater variety of cow breeds, and that'll get you the most points. There's just so many different pieces to it that is really engaging, and the whole thing's charming as far as I'm concerned. Being from Texas, and we're used to cattle, I just love the whole thing, and that's Great Western Trail.
It's a really cool game, good looking game, and there's a lot of depth to it, because there's a lot of choices to make. Your trail, how fast, how slow you go, trying to make your way to was it Kansas City? You're trying to make it to, right, to ship them off. Where to put those buildings down that you'll control and you'll gain some benefit out of. Really, really groovy game. Well, my number 10 is going to be a game that Jolene and I enjoy, and we hope to get Lucas to experience it at one point. It's Firefly The Game. And so I'm a big fan of Firefly, so is Joe. And when we were talking to Brandon about the game, he said he had played it, he liked it. So I went out and bought it and just said, well, you know what, I'm a fan, let me just get all the expansions too. So we pulled it out one night while Lucas was away, and we really, really enjoyed it, had a great time. It's the foundation is pick up and deliver, sort of mission running in the verse. But there's so much more than that. There's a lot of options through the cards to take little side scenarios, managing your relationships between the mission givers and yourself, running from the Alliance, running from the Reavers, trying to avoid the Reavers, and everything else. So really fun for kind of a full night game. Now, it is a longer game, but fun all the way around.
Well, not only that, but you're also building up your crew, right? And you have to make that decision. Is it going to be a good guy or is it going to be a criminal, right? And so if you get caught by the Alliance with a criminal on your crew, there's
trouble.
Repercussions there. It's a very good game. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's our number 10.
So at number 9, I chose Robinson Crusoe: Adventures on the Cursed Island. This is an awesome cooperative game to where you're stranded on an island and you just have to survive, which means you need to hunt for food, gather wood, build shelter. But there's all these things coming at you to basically, kill you. So, and what's really cool is that as you go along, you're making decisions, and that decision may come back and bite you. You may take this medicine, but then a couple of weeks down the line, it ends up making you sicker, or you kill a bear to eat it, and then the mama bear comes after you. It's so cool how everything links together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with Robinson Crusoe, Adventures on a Cursed Island.
This game dispels the myth that Eurogames can't tell stories and can't be thematic.
Yeah.
Bravo, Ignacio.
And let me tell you, as you're playing it, if you use the strategy of getting everything you want, you will definitely lose.
Oh yeah.
If you win, it's going to be because you made sacrifices and you just, you tried your luck at it. Not luck, but you made sacrifices so that you could advance what you needed to advance.
Mm-hmm.
You will not be able to comfortably finish this game. And that's a good thing.
Yep. What you got, Chip?
Mine is a game that I was very surprised with when we played it, and it's Planet Steam.
Mm-hmm.
I like the steampunk kind of feel, but I'm not like a super fan of it. And so looking at this game, I thought, well, okay, it's maybe fun, but I don't know if it's really, blowing my hair back or whatever. But man, we played it and I had a really good time because I'm kind of a sucker for economic style games and sort of manipulating those forces. And this has that in it, man. And it's really cool to play with those gauges for the commodities and watch the values go up and down while, building your area over on the map and things and trying to take advantage of that so that you can produce those commodities and really cash in. It was a really cool game, and I'd love to play it a lot more.
This, I think, is really a gem for Fantasy Flight
Mm-hmm.
because they don't make this type of game often,
No.
and but their production values are always great. So when I saw that one and I flipped to the back and be like, hey, this could be really cool, and it turned out to be a really good game. And like I said, it's a lost gem, I think, for them.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that was the exact point I was going to make. My number 9 is also going to be, we talked about this, we're going to be colliding here with the crossovers. Chip's already mentioned it, and again, I think she will before this is over, and that's going to be Scythe from Stonemaier Games. I saw this thing come and go through Kickstarter and didn't really pay it any mind because I didn't think our gaming group would be interested in it. And then she saw it somewhere online, and all the sparkly things in the collector's edition caught her attention, and she demanded to own it, so I went out and found it for her. And man, I was wrong. Our group really loved it. It's a really great game. It's kind of it's a Euro game, but it has a feel of a light war game. And the way it's so cool is the combat is almost incidental. It happens. There are going to be skirmishes, but they're not crippling. There's a very streamlined way to handle it, and you move on. It's not the point of the whole game. Building up your civilization or your empire is kind of the point of the whole thing. So overall, a great package, both visually and with gameplay. So my number 9 is Scythe.
My favorite part of that game is the cards, to where you have a scenario, there are 3 outcomes, and you get to pick your own adventure. That's my favorite piece of the whole thing, but I love the entire game in total.
Yeah, and we've taken to sort of embellishing the story on those cards, right? Because there's not a narrative there. It's just it's a picture, and then
it's a moment in time.
3 options, right? And so you can dryly pick the card up and say, okay, are you going to help the farmers? Are you going to steal from the farmers, or are you going to kill their cow and have a feast? But we look at the picture and we're come up with some kind of humorous narrative, and it really adds to it. I like the player boards combined with the player factions that you're given randomly. It's like Small World, right? So every game you're going to get a different combination of those, and learning how each one of them works together, and some of them even work kind of against each other. Some of the factions are not really in a good starting position for certain industries, and so if you get those combinations, you have to figure out how you're gonna handle that. But it's really neat, and overall, though it is an asymmetric game, I feel like it is just super balanced. And that's Stonemaier. I mean, I think they go a long way to do their play testing and really refine the game by the time that it hits the market. But yeah, it's a home run.
That's our number 9s.
Coming in at number 8, I told you that I'm a huge fan of dungeon crawls, and so here's the first one in my top 10. It's going to be Shadows of Brimstone. I have really fallen for this game. I think it's because of the Wild West theme. I'm really a sucker for that. And you know, the dungeon play is good and solid. Now, the game is it's real fiddly. There is a lot of peripherals to this game, and for some folk that could be a detriment. But you know, if you can filter it all down to the game itself, it's really great. The models, you know, they're good to paint, good looking, a lot of variety. They have expansions out the wazoo of however much you want to add to this game. I just like it. The Weird West. We've played Deadlands, the role playing game, in our past, and really enjoyed it. That kind of feel and all the other worlds that you can take your guys into is really neat for me. So Shadows of Brimstone.
I really like the players are so different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the gunslinger on one side, you have a martial on another, then you have a piano player.
Yep.
You know, and the now how this group comes together,
right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that the players are so different and they can each contribute in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My number 8 is going to be Eclipse. Chip talked about this earlier. I can't remember if you've already had it. You did too. Okay, so it's crossover with both of them. This is a 4X Euro game, which are two things that kind of seemed at odds with me in my mind until we played it, and I absolutely loved it. I'll admit that I do have a desire to try the 4th edition of Twilight Imperium, but when I played this game, Chip doesn't like it when I say this, when I played this game, I declared that TI3 was dead. I would rather play this over TI3 any day of the week. With the caveat, I'm willing to try the 4th to see how they streamlined it and all that. But I absolutely love the way this one goes together. And we've mentioned before, we don't have an overly confrontational group most of the time. And the way this one plays out, well, you can kind of leave each other alone if you want to and build your own little empire, which is, for better or worse, what we tend to do in this one. I love the exploration. I love the way your upgrades work and getting the different technologies on your ship and so forth. All of these things put together in a nice package. Eclipse, my number 8.
Totally agree. It got rid of TI for me. So.
It didn't get rid of TI for me, but it is a great game. I'd play it anytime.
Well, for my number 8, I chose Dead of Winter. This is a game that I still love and adore because I like the whole zombie apocalypse bit. But basically, you have your survivor, and you have this compound that you're all safe and secure in, but you have to go out. You have to go out in order to get weapons, food, and medicine. But going out means you're going to be putting yourself in danger. You roll this one dice, and I swear to God, I get frostbit or bitten every time. But you're going out and a story unfolds because of the crossover cards, and you make decisions while you're out there. And I don't know, it's a full package for me. Yes, there could possibly be a trader element, but you know, like with Shadows over Camelot, I don't feel. Well, hold on. With Shadows over Camelot, the trader isn't as a big a deal, but with Dead of Winter, it can lose you the game. But that's part of the fun for me. So Dead of Winter, my number 8.
Yeah, for me, it's the combination of the trader and the personal objectives that really make this game the beatdown. I love how the locations work, and they have the individual decks that you can pick through and find new gear and equipment and stuff. I really dig that. I dig the constant feeling of the dead being just an inescapable force, right? It's they're building up on you all the time, and you need to complete your objectives. But man, when you combine the fact that everybody at the table is trying to do their own thing to win, and there might be a traitor, it's tough.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but
okay.
I've got to agree there. I really like this game, but it fell completely off the list, and I was trying to think of a reason why, and that has to be it, because I've come to view the personal objective as an artificial way to make everybody look like a traitor.
Yeah.
And I just don't like that. You know, I think without that, and you have a traitor or you don't, that's a neat little bit of tension. Do we have one? Do we not? I already think it's going to be everybody because I don't trust any of you people, but I don't need additional reasons to think that, right? And I agree with you there.
And those are our number 8s.
At number 7, I've got yet another crossover. My list is full of them this time, I think, at least. And that's Ignacy Trzewiczek's 51st State from Portal Games. We've said about all we can about this, but the interesting thing is, we compare this one when we talk about it to Imperial Settlers. Mm-hmm. And I think rightfully so. Imperial Settlers has the more appealing theme for me, but this one feels like a better game. I don't know that I can put my hands on it, but the engine building thing is just sublime here. Mm-hmm. So, 51st State, my number 7.
I think it's the tension factor.
Maybe.
Because with the Master Set, 51st State, there's this tension that wraps up and ramps up and ramps up with Imperial Settlers.
Well, maybe that's it, right? Because this one's a race to 25 victory points. Imperial Settlers is a number of turns. So maybe I like that better. Mm-hmm. Interesting point.
Great game.
Very good game.
So for my number 7, I chose Chaos in the Old World. I love the Warhammer universe, especially on the fantasy side. So we grabbed this game a long time ago on the shelf of shame, never got it played. Well, then they came out with an expansion, which was the Horned Rat. Thank you. So I finally got the Skaven God. So I wanted to play it, and I wanted to play it, and we finally got it to the table, and it delivered on everything that I thought it should be and what I wanted it to be. But basically, it's area control, and you are trying to spread your corruption all over the world, and the god that does it the best wins.
That's chaos for you.
It's chaos, and I absolutely love it. It delivered so much, and I want to get it to the table again and again.
This is a game that you really have to play a number of times to learn the different factions, because every one of them is different, and you have to play every one of them.
Yes, different.
You do. If you have corn, you need to be aggressive. If and if you're not, you're probably not going to be successful with it. And all the other factions are like that. So, yeah, it's really cool to see the variety they put. And to me, the theme comes out pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that may be our familiarity with the source material. But the interesting thing, great game, by the way, but one of the interesting things here is the evolution of a designer, because this is an older Eric Lane game. This is a highly interactive area control game. Think about what he's put out in the last few years. Blood Rage, The Godfather. I can see the pieces that came from that into those, how he got there. But this one isn't less than them. I'd put it right there with them. Great game.
Mine is going to be a game that captured me from the get-go because of the mechanics that it built, and it's Elder Sign. The dice mechanics of Elder Sign, where your mission is essentially just a set of dice results that you have to get, it just blew me away, because we came to this game real early on. And this is another one sort of like Pandemic. You're going to play it a few times and get beat down before you have success, you know. But man, I thought just the mechanic of that, and I'm not one of these people that hates dice in games and random. I love it, actually. Why not? Sometimes it's frustrating, but they're just games, people. But the idea that you're going to get, you're going to tell me I need you to roll, two magnifying glasses and a squiggly, a Cthulhu head or whatever. And then me trying to do that, and with the roll, and if I don't hit it right then, I take off one dice and I can keep rolling. That is just so neat to me. And they've expanded this. They've supported it throughout the years, which is really cool. So to me, it's kind of a portable Arkham horror, Eldritch horror, feel. That it's the Cthulhu mythos. But man, I really like it. I really like it. And that's Elder Sign.
Well, one of the best games I think we ever had with Elder Sign, it was one like 6 or 7 of us all together. And
don't do that.
Yeah, it's
it is long. Yes, it is long. But we also introduced a person into it that had never really played board games at all. So that was her introduction to gaming.
And it wasn't a good theme for her.
And it wasn't a good theme for her, but she really, really enjoyed it. And that's kind of a testament to that game, because it turned out being a long, sprawling game because of the number of players, and we had new players, and they still all enjoyed it. So definitely a good pick.
I think once upon a time I would have called this a nice little game. Yeah. But the first expansion, that's what I say. The first expansion, Gates of Arkham, completely changed it. And this is a full-blown experience
Oh, yeah.
now.
Oh,
You know, and
yeah.
I really like the way your items and your spells and stuff let you capture a die, but there's a choice made there because that die is captured, which means it's not going on to the next person or whatever. So a lot of interesting decisions. The dice make it really fun. I agree with Chip on that point.
Those are our number 7s. So here we are at 6, and I already have a crossover now with Chip.
Okay.
And it's Firefly, the board
nice.
game. So I love this game even more than Chip does, mainly because of the source material. Love, 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 love Firefly. But on top of that, it's the, just misbehaving.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a piece where you can push your luck and gamble, and you're making choices. I love the whole thing about it. So definitely higher on my list. Number 6, Firefly, the board game.
We've said it all. My number 6 is going to be a game we just played a couple of times there at BGG and here at home, but we haven't played in a while. It's Gold West, man. This game, you're going out to find gold, putting down camps and little settlements, flipping over tiles to see what kind of terrain there is that will produce the different metals that you're trying to get. But your player board, the hopper that you're processing your metals through is the Mancala mechanism, and actually you have to put camps out throughout the game. That's the timer of the game. So once everybody runs out of camps, game's over. But it's just a really nice, compact game. Real straightforward, but it's just a lot of fun for me, and I like the theme. I think the theme carries it quite a bit. I like that kind of area. But Gold West, if you haven't tried it, give it a shot.
Definitely has a lot of good Euro bits and pieces. I particularly like putting out the campsites because one of the ways you gather points is having the longest strand of campsites, and so that's something that you're focusing on. Getting the trains, getting your metals off to market, that's another one. So there's a lot of different ways to make points, and you just have to try and do it better than everybody else.
Right.
I think that's the point of a lot of these.
Yeah.
I know, right?
My number 6 is going to be Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island. We'd already talked about it. I can't really add anything more to that discussion, so just assume that I have lavished praise.
Well done, Ignacy. Those are our number 6s. Halfway through at number 5, mine is my very favorite Games Workshop game. Guess what it is? It's Necromunda, of course. Gang warfare in the 41st millennium. No, I told them they weren't going to be surprised at this. Guys, this is a game that I got into decades ago. We were heavy into the Games Workshop hobby, and this one came along, and the idea of putting together a gang and fighting it in this 3D terrain. I no longer had to maintain squad coherency. I could break my guys up. Right. They didn't have to stay next to each other. They were on their own. If they got shot, they weren't immediately taken out of action. They might fall down and just be able to get back up later. But the best part about it is the campaign play. After the mission, we're going to get experience points for each individual model. They're going to go up in level and get more powerful and be able to take new weapons and equipment and get new skills. It just all came together for me in this game, Necromunda, and I have loved it since the day I played it for the first time.
I'm really glad that they basically are putting on a fresh coat of paint and bringing it back out again. They haven't got all the gangs out
Not yet,
but I'm just waiting with bated breath for the next one to come out. It's exciting.
Yeah, there are rules for you if you have the older models for you to use them in the new Necromunda, which is very similar to the original Necromunda. Yes. This is one of my, gateway games into hobby gaming, and I have this thing, I don't know why, but with this list, if the tape measures are involved, they don't include it. I don't know why I do that, but I do. Maybe one day we'll make a best tape measures game video or something like that, but I would agree it's a great choice. My number 5 is going to be another crossover, and that's going to be Legendary Marvel. We mentioned and talked about the Legendary Encounters games earlier. To me, this is a different thing.
Yeah.
Those games tell more of a story, and this one is more of, bang, pow, whip, the superhero thing, and I think it captures that feel great. I am unapologetically a DC Comics fan, but this game, I like DC's deck builder. That's what got us into deck building. This game's just so much better than that. There's so much more depth. And that's not including the million expansions they've put out for the thing, because I just can't keep up, even though I do want to get them all. But just what's in the core box, you've got, I think it's 4 different masterminds, a bunch of different plot schemes. They will each strike at you in a different way, and then the different combination of heroes will allow you to build different kinds of decks every time you play, and you're going to have a different combination of villains, which means you're going to have different things coming at you. Every game of this feels unique. It captures a theme that I like really well. I like the idea of them moving through the city, especially, if they escape with a bystander, that hurts you even more because, a hero's got to stop that from happening. Every piece of this thing just works together beautifully. I feel like it captures the theme great. So at number 5, Legendary Marvel deck building game.
And it's not like every man for himself either. You
No,
have
it's
to play
cooperative,
it. You have to play it cooperatively. Like, so if you choose, let's see, one of them was Hawkeye. So if you choose Hawkeye, then let you gather the Hawkeyes. Don't
so
poach.
you have that synergy.
So you can have the synergy, and that really works well. Great
yeah,
game.
I mean there is a victory point mechanic into it, but we don't even count it. I mean it's an afterthought for us. We just want to beat the villain. Great game.
So for my number 5, it's another crossover, and this one's Shadows of Brimstone.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Very nice.
I really liked it.
I'm glad.
Maybe it's because I just got a really good character, but the gunslinger is so much fun to play. So I really enjoyed the dungeon delving. I like I like the way that the monsters come at us. It starts off in the far corner, but then they just swarm. And I really enjoy it. It's exciting and fast paced. And as a gunslinger, I get to shoot a lot more of them. So I really do enjoy that game. Now the town piece of it can be long.
Yeah, it can be.
So depending on, you may want to go to town at the beginning and then do the adventure instead of doing the adventure and then going to town, because then it just adds more time.
Yeah, finish your night up with the excitement of the adventure.
Right, definitely. But I really do enjoy that game.
I'm glad you like that.
Thank you, Chip.
Those are our number 5s.
Well, to kick off number 4, I talked about with number 5 how I was unapologetically a DC Comics fan. I'm also unapologetically a fan of Games Workshop.
Okay.
I'll admit, in the last few years, they went through some hard times with some bad leadership and some terrible decisions on their part, but they've seemed to right the ship, and I feel like that started when they re-released an old classic, Blood Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
This is an amazing game. It was one of the first Games Workshop games I played. I think the first may have been Necromunda, which Chip mentioned. But this one, they were like, hey, you like that? It's team-based. Here, take these guys and play fantasy football in the fantasy realms type of sense, right? So you take your orcs and you go smash their humans, or you take your dwarves and you stubbornly defend against the undead. Everything in this one works great. I have heard the conversation that this one feels dated. You're wrong.
No, I don't think
I have played several of the new combat sports games, and there's too much of a focus on the combat of those. That's a piece here, but you've still got to score touchdowns to win this game. And it has a system similar to that of Necromunda, where as you play along in a campaign-based setting, your team and your players are all going to get better. Your fan factor is going to get better. The amount of money you bring in will let you buy new players. Some let you buy star players, which are special characters, or big guys. All of these things work together really nicely. A nice thematic, tactical board game. With great miniatures, Blood Bowl.
Well, not only that, but every move you make is a roll of a dice. So you have that chaos factor, which is great because any given Sunday, you never know what's going to happen. So that just adds more to the whole theme of the fantasy football. Love that game.
There is a huge fan base for this game. So much so that they have created their own national organization to play Blood Bowl and to keep. And there for a while to keep the rules going, right? Because
yeah.
Games Workshop went through a very long period of not supporting this game, and fans loved it so much that they carried it forward. So it is awesome.
And I think they recognize that because a new version is almost identical to the old.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, what I'm drawn to is the player progression aspect of it. I really liked that side of Games Workshop. So yeah, great game, Blood Bowl.
Well, for my number 4, I chose Scythe.
Oh.
We've already talked about it in this run. Just amazing game by Stonemaier. I just love every piece of it. The different factions, they all have their own little special power depending on the boards you get. Will kind of help you figure out your strategy for the game. Everything about it's perfect. So I love it. Scythe.
Very nice.
This one, just one real quick. You putting this game at number 4 tells me what your number 1 is.
No,
and I'd be really interested. Now I want to know what you put between the two.
You don't know what my number 1 is.
My number 4 is going to be a crossover with Lucas. Yes, Lucas, and it is Orleans. This was my first experience with bag building, and it really just hit on all cylinders for me. We have come to a point where we think that there's that not participating in the market or what do they call them, trade houses will really cripple your game. And I think we need to investigate that some more because I just love playing this game. I like how your initial set, and everybody starts off equal, and it just expands because of people's choices, right? And it becomes so different as gameplay progresses. I like the difference between bag building and deck building. Deck building, one of the key strategies in playing is to, at some point, you're going to have to start culling your deck.
That's right.
Well, in Orleans, you not only have the ability to cull your bag and just completely get rid of the tiles, or the disc, but you also have an ability to just assign them out into your player board where they're sitting there. They could be activated for the power, or you could just let them sit there because then they're not going back in your bag.
Right.
So it's sort of an in-between culling, and I think that's really, there's a lot of strategy that could happen from that because now I don't have to completely get rid of the disc to not have it interfere. I can just let it sit there for a while, and I really like that part. Yeah. So that is my number 4.
Great game. Those are our number 4s.
So at number 3, I chose Alien Artifacts. Oh. I really do love this game. Oh, wow. It's all a set of cards, but basically it's an engine builder. And as you're building out your engine, when you advance your technology over, or you're using a deck of cards and you're paying to advance your technology, when it comes over, you have to make a decision on whether or not you're going to continue to use the special ability that card can give you, or flip it over, and then that becomes something that stands for your victory points at the end of the game. So you kind of have to balance out as I'm exploring, do I want to get rid of this special power? And it's that timing that really captures my attention and makes this game one that I want to play again and again, and that's Alien Artifacts.
It's surprising that you put that so high. I knew you liked it. We need to play that again. I kind of came out of that game a little underwhelmed, and maybe I missed something, so we need to give that one another go.
My number 3 is going to be a double crossover with Lucas and Jolene. They've already said it. It's Imperial Assault, fantasy flight game. Yep. This is my other dungeon crawl. So this is my favorite dungeon crawl. This is your
top dungeon crawl?
Yeah. And right. I mean, it's all theme, right? I love Star Wars. And to have a dungeon crawler in the Star Wars universe is just awesome. Not to mention to have it by Fantasy Flight, who knows how to put some expansions out.
Yes.
I mean, they'll expand this thing faster than I can buy it. So, it's great. I got plenty of expansions to go into. Mm-hmm. The models are good. Are good. Mm-hmm. They're and they're paintable. So I'm having a great time doing that. And just this thing kicks on all cylinders now. So
I already listed that one. It's good. I really do enjoy that too.
My number 3 is going to signal the death of the king. This was number 1 last year. It has officially fallen out of that spot. Fans of the channel know that I absolutely love Elder Core. It makes me feel like Indiana Jones when I play that game, and you can't make me feel any better than making me feel like Indiana Jones. So I don't really know what else I could say about it that we haven't already. It works for me on every level, Elder Core.
That floors me. It finally lost its place.
It finally lost its place.
It's a great game. Those come in at our number 3. Here we are at number 2, and let me tell you, when you game with people for long enough, you just start thinking alike. You start liking the same things. You sync up. So I'm again synced up with Joe and Lucas, and this number 2 for me is Robinson Crusoe. Man, this game is such a beat down, but it's so fun. And you have different missions that you can choose to try your hand at. And like I said earlier, this is one of those games where if you don't get uncomfortable, you're probably not going to succeed. So really cool game. If you get a chance, haven't played it, please try it out. You will not regret it. Robinson Crusoe.
One of my favorite types of games anyway is trying to beat the game.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, against each other. So great choice.
Oh, and it has hex map.
Yep, that's true.
Yes, it does. My number 2, you mentioned a few picks ago, maybe even in the last episode, about your 2 childhood influences of Mr. Bartles and Mr. James, which explains a lot.
Yep.
My number 2 is also a wine-themed game, but it is not Vinos. It is Viticulture Essential Edition. This game worked for me. First of all, I'm not sure there's a better theme for a Eurogame than making wine.
Oh, yeah.
And I like the more micro, running my smaller business aspect that it has over Vinos, which I do enjoy playing that game. But this one is so much better. I had ignored it for years because you kind of see, the cover, and I wasn't familiar with Stonemaier games until Scythe. And we played Scythe, and I said, wait a minute, I got to take a look at some other stuff that Jamie Stegmaier has done. And for me, this is an absolute home run. You are working, literally, it's a worker placement game where you send your workers out to plant vines, grow grapes, make wine, and fill orders. And it does that in such a fulfilling way. We have picked up the Tuscany Essential Edition, but we haven't mixed it in the box yet because I'm still exploring the base Essential Edition. I don't feel like I'm ready to change that just yet. But every time we play it, I have such a great time. Viticulture Essential Edition.
The story of how the Essential Edition came to be is even great, right? Because we talk about the evolution of these games. Not only does Jamie Stegmaier take the time to do a lot of play testing and craft a great game off the get-go, this game evolved even farther after production. It was taken and refined by another great designer, given suggestions of take these parts and put them together, these expansions you've already got, and put them together in an Essential Edition. It's a really great game.
So for my number 2, I chose Escape from 100 Million BC.
Okay.
This is one that I had to have. As soon as I read it and saw the theme of it, being, you're ripped back in time, and you have to find all the parts of your ship, and then you rip back pieces of technology or people even from the future with you, and you have to gather them up or you're going to have paradoxes. And the exploration of the map, and you don't want to kill the dinosaurs because that would create a paradox. Everything that you can do might create a paradox. So you have to really double think and triple think, every little piece of what you're going to do to be as successful as you can. And all of this while a volcano is about to explode. So it was Land of the Lost meets Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and it delivered on everything that I wanted it to be. And I love this game, Escape from 100 Million BC.
Those are our second favorite games. We have reached the end of a journey, come to the end of a trail, A Great
Western Trail.
This one we got, I don't know, a couple BGG cons ago. We got on the table. It never made it to the Shelf of Shame. I'm kind of proud of that one, right? Because we played it before we began that whole deal. And man, this game works. I love deck building, and I love that Alexander Pfister found a way to put deck building into a game as a piece, not the whole thing, right? So you are working with your cowboys, hiring cowboys to improve your chances of gaining better cows that you put into your deck. And as Joe mentioned previously, you're trying to get to Kansas City with a vast variety because you're going to get paid based on the different types of cows you have in your hand. So along the way, you can actually spin them, which I suppose is selling or butchering them to accomplish other things. So while you're making the journey, you're working to refine what's in your hand so that you have the best results once you get to Kansas City. And adding to that, you have a certain amount of spaces that you can move along the way, and players will build buildings, and you'll build buildings, and some start there. You can move one space if you wanted to, or you can move that full number of spaces, whatever it is. But each part of that journey is changing something, on your trip towards Kansas City. And I just love the way that works. Do you bust through and deliver some cows and get some points straight away, or do you refine things, build up a little bit as you're going along to put yourself in a better position for the future? All of these decisions are just amazing. I couldn't, and I guess 2 games did it, but I couldn't have imagined when we made this list last year that I would find a game that I liked better than Eldritch Horror. And this one knocks it off.
It's on top of the world. Obviously, it's a matchup with Joe Lynn, and it's my number 1 pick as well. The peripherals of this game are just awesome. You have a timeline that is telling you these different characters are going to become available throughout the play. So you can forecast what's going on there. You have the train that you can expand forward and make yourself easier to do other things there. But all the time, you have to maintain that deck of cards with those cows and get them there, have vast variety so you can get that train farther along. This is a world-class game.
Yes, it is. This is why every time you bring up Mombasa, I say, I'll play.
Oh, yeah.
Because I love this designer. I want to see more from him.
Well, for my number 1, I chose Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, there you go.
Right there.
Oh, he knew.
Terraforming Mars.
Every piece of that game it fits me to a T. It's exactly what I want in a game. It's building up your hand. It's putting out the tiles to terraform Mars itself. It's building these little mini engines as you go. Every piece of it is a brain burner, and I love it. So Terraforming Mars is definitely my number 1, and it's going to take a lot to knock it off.
It's a super fun game.
Yes, it is. Thank you for joining us on this journey of our 50 favorite games. The second time we've done it, we talked about the wrecking ball of change. We played so many great games last year that were new to us through the Shelf of Shame challenge that we did, that it really racked things up. I'll be interested to see how that changes next year, if at all, and if anything can knock our number 1s down. That was really interesting to me. So hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Lucas.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Chip. We'll see you next time.